Well, Mark, that's incredible. That really is one of the most interesting stories in music. And there she is. How cool to have Denise Kaufman with us now. Welcome to the program, Denise. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Bill? Is that you, Bill?
Yes, I
All right.
cannot believe your story. Like Mark was saying, back in the day, you shared the stage with Hendrix and the band and Joplin and the Grateful Dead and Jefferson Airplane. Why in the world don't we know about you guys?
We were the first all women's band in the Bay Area scene. And we had never seen an all women band before we started being one. And I think during that era, the people, you had to get a record deal to be known. And the record companies just didn't quite know what to make of us, is my thought.
What a huge mistake that is. And listen, not only did all those big stars love you, Rolling Stone loved you, all these magazines loved you, the critics loved you. We're going to let our viewers know why you are still amazing. It's called Ace of Cups is the name of the group. Denise Kaufman, she's the lead singer and bass player. Here comes a song called Feel Good.
I really like it 'cause it makes me feel so good. There's a whole lot of people trying to mess with your mind. When you were just a little child, they filled you in with every sin they could find. Telling you it's wrong to want my good loving. One way for you to know for sure. Does it feel good, baby? Tell me, how does it feel?
Oh my God,
Man.
Isn't that awesome, Mark?
It feels good.
It's too good to be true. The song is smoking hot. The musicianship is fantastic. Singing and songwriting, you guys are amazing.
Thank you. So I want to edit one thing you said. I'm one of the singers, but we have 5 lead singers in our band. So the focus goes from one to another to another to another.
Man.
And each one of us writes and each one of us lead sings. And sometimes we write together or in little collaborations of 2 or 3. And so, yeah.
Well, what an honor to speak with Denise Kaufman, who really is part of music history, coming to us from her home in Kauai, Hawaii. Gosh, we're envious there. You were there in the Summer of Love. As Bill said earlier, I mean, you played on stage with Hendrix and the Doors and all of those people. And look at you today, still going strong, healthy. A lot of people didn't survive that era. How did you make it this far? I mean, were you involved in the psychedelic scene at all?
I was on the bus with Ken Kesey. My prankster name is Mary Microgram. And so, yes, I was right in the middle of all of that. But I've always cared about staying healthy. I've been a vegetarian since I was 18. I've been a vegan for the last 15 years. I practiced yoga since I was a teenager. So I think that some of my practices helped me and have a center that kept me going. And I never really got into, I was to be honest, very into psychedelic drugs, but really nothing else than that. I was into experiences that drew me closer to oneness or the divine or the great spirit. And that's, my bandmates are that way too. I mean, that's a focus for all of us is that our music and that our devotions in life are toward unity and humanity and caring for each other. And that was kind of what always, I think, guided me and saved me maybe.
Well, and that's not just words either. I mean, you really lived it. You've been a warrior for social justice pretty much all your life. You were arrested at UC Berkeley in the 60s. And now in your 70s, you're fighting gender discrimination and ageism as well. What is inside you, Denise, that makes you believe that we can make a difference?
Well, first of all, just doing what you care about and not stopping, even though maybe there's a cultural norm that says, well, at a certain age, you should stop doing that. I mean, that's very odd. And I don't think other cultures have that, that programming. But, when we first started, when the Ace of Cups first started, again, we didn't know any other all women bands. We didn't see women on stage playing their instruments in the rock scene. I know there had been jazz players and other, and certainly symphonic players, classical players. But in our world, for a woman to be playing the drums or a woman to be playing lead guitar, that was not seen. So we were happy to kind of carve out that, or create that new imagery of, for letting young people or anyone see women doing that. That kind of breaks up the stereotypes. So we did that because we wanted to play. And we were, particularly like our drummer had been told girls can't play drums from when she was in grammar school. She wanted to play drums in the in her school bands all the way through grammar school, junior high, high school. And she was told girls don't get to play drums. You can play the tambourine. So she didn't get started really on her drums till she was, 18, but then she made up for lost time. I think for in those days, just by being honestly, authentically who we were and following our passion, we were breaking up stereotypes. Now, in those days, it was sexism. These days, it's, combination of sexism and ageism. And it's really actually great to be flying the banner just by being who we are of don't stop, do what you love, break up your notions of what people need to be doing or not doing at any age in life. So I think ageism is a bigger, glass wall or glass ceiling than sexism even. And, when people say, hello, boomer, I'm like, I know it's said in a derogatory way, but I'm like, yeah, right.
Well,
and, I have great love and respect for so many young people and what young people are doing and the music and everything. And I would love the circuit to be complete so that there's appreciation for everyone at all stages of life. And I think in our culture, especially with what's going on right now with COVID, we all need to be really taking care of each other and honoring each other. And I think that cultures that don't honor and appreciate the elders are very short-sighted and probably not long for this world, to tell the truth. I think the cultures that honor the elders are able to bring wisdom forward and not make the same mistakes over and over.
What an inspiration you are, Denise. A parent that this culture needs your voice. And I don't mean just your singing voice. And, as you talked about all the struggles that we've had as a culture, I can't help but tell you, I got a case of the blues. And I'm just wondering if anybody had a harmonica, if at all, they could just play a little bit of the blues for us right now.
Tell me a little bit about your case of the blues there. Tell me about it.
Well, you know what? It is. Ageism is the great equalizer, and it's the one thing that will affect all of us if we're lucky enough to be to make it into old age. And it gives me the blues to think that this culture, this society doesn't appreciate the voice and the value of older people. So, sister, would you please play me a little bit of the blues? Oh, thank you for that, Denise. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Do you know what happens so often is, we'll see stories on, online where they'll say, oh, look, if there was an old guy playing guitar or some old person was singing. But when you guys get up there and rock, it is serious business. It is top quality. We've got some more video of you then and of you guys now. It doesn't look like you've really lost anything. And to think that Ace of Cups was unfairly denied a record deal in the 60s, but you have proved, Denise, that it is never too late. 52 years later, about to release your debut album. Is the band the same? And what does it feel like? How excited are you guys to step in there and finally get to deliver something to a national audience?
Well, first of all, actually, it's not our debut album. We got our record deal from High Moon Records about 50 years after we first started as a band. It was a few years ago. And we released our first studio album November 2018. It was a double album including a vinyl version with a big 17-page book and stories in it. And what we're releasing now is, we're releasing in September, is our second studio album. And it's will be both a CD and streaming and an LP. We've already released 2 singles from it, and we'll release at least 2 more before September 18th. And so this is our second album, and that's the one we finished just like 2 days before lockdown. We've been working on it for quite a while. So, and we have 1 more album we're going to do next year.
Wow.
God is willing.
How exciting. And before we kind of wrap it up, because we got to get your philosophy on life in general, but I think it's important that people understand, Denise, that you're not a one-trick pony. You are a multi-trick thoroughbred. As we've seen, you're a bit of a philosopher. You're an advocate. You obviously are a great artist, but you're also a renowned yoga teacher. In fact, you've worked with Madonna and Quincy Jones and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What is it about your philosophy in yoga that attracts those kinds of people? What are you teaching them?
Well, it's interesting because I practiced yoga from the time I was a teenager. My mother practiced some yoga, so I learned from her, and then later through other teachers. So what I've done at different times in life for different kinds of practices, the practice that you do in your 30s is not the practice you do in your 50s or the practice you do in your 70s. So the thing about yoga that matters to me is that each of us has a completely unique body and anatomy, and we need to tailor our practice to our own structures and our own needs. So a yoga practice or an asana practice, the postures or the shapes, is it's kind of like prayer. It's a very individual thing. So when people start to practice, I try to help them undo ideas of that's the right way to do it, or it should look like this. It's like the practice needs to be tailored to each of us. What I teach now is slow, deep stretching. And I love doing it. It gets called yin yoga, as contrasted with yang. But I think slow, deep stretching is the foundation for a long, healthy, fluid, juicy life. So as you might be able to see here, I try never to sit in chairs or as infrequently as possible. I live on the floor. I get a nice carpet and some pillows. I have low tables. And I think living on the floor keeps you fluid and keeps you grounded.
Wow.
Amazing attitude. And that's what makes me want to ask you this one last question, from me at least, Denise. I'm just wondering if, man, as good as you guys are and as good as you were even in the 60s, do you feel like you were cheated out on celebrity and stardom?
Truly, not at all. I feel as though maybe if we had had that happen then, we might have gone down a not so great path, which a lot of people did at that time. I mean, we were little, granola women. We had gardens, and by the time, by the time of 1969 and 70, we had babies, and we did not want to, I'm really grateful that we didn't get into substances that would have, derailed our parenting or our lives. So I don't know whether we would have had the maturity and the groundedness to handle some of the things that other people did, get into. I don't mean the substance, but I mean just the popularity or the celebrity. You need a lot of humility and connection with people and a very real look at yourself to not get turned around by some of those circumstances when people are, putting you up on a pedestal. You need to have people around you just kind of go, no, take out the garbage, So I think we were really fortunate to have things unfold exactly as they have.
Wow.
You've lived a lot. It would be very easy to live in the past, but it's obvious, Denise, that you are looking ahead to the future, and that's certainly something that keeps us going. So many people when they get older, they become risk averse. They're afraid, not just to take risk that would hurt themselves, but to risk failure, to risk embarrassment, to risk extending themselves for a relationship. Through your life, all you've lived, all you've done, up and down, good and bad, experiment. What's the key? Can you leave us with something? What do you think the key is to successful aging?
Yeah. Stay open. Gosh, I mean, for me, it's live on the earth. Have people in your life of all backgrounds. Don't just have your bubble of relationships be your little cohort. Have friends that are children, have friends that are teenagers, have friends that are young people, have friends of all different ethnic backgrounds, and if you don't have them, reach out and find them, make friends. Find people to listen to, find people whose stories that you can listen to keep opening your heart and mind so that your world doesn't shrink. You want to be able to have deeper and stronger connections with all of us. We need to stay connected in the biggest sense we can.
Wow. Isn't that great? Denise Kaufman, you have one of the most interesting stories of the 60s. And in the last few minutes, we have found out that you are one of the most fascinating people right now. Just amazing. Look for the Ace of Cups album number 2, which will be released this fall. The amazing Denise Kaufman.
And Denise, would we be asking too much if we ask you to kind of play us out?
No, I'd love to. The new album, by the way, is called Sing Your Dreams. So
beautiful.
Sing our dreams, everyone. Right?
All right, Denise.
Here we go.
Take it away.